Hello and welcome back to World 360. The Russia-Ukraine war has definitely drawn a line in the sand for some members in the international community, with the US and Western allies doubling up on sanctions on Moscow, while countries like China and Pakistan have sided with Russian President Vladimir Putin. However, the situation has left certain countries in an awkward position, most recently India, which again abstained from a vote regarding the issue at the UN. But there's one country in particular that is treading a very fine line, and its vague stance on the issue has not received much attention. I'm talking about Israel, a close ally of the US which also enjoys ties with both Ukraine and Russia. Let's not forget that after the collapse of the Soviet Union in the early 1990s, over 1 million Jews, or those claiming Jewish relatives, from Russia, Ukraine, and former Soviet states fled to Israel. Today, Israel is home to one of the world's biggest Russian-speaking diasporas. At the same time, reports have suggested that Israel relies on Russia to operate over war-torn Syria, where Russia effectively controls the airspace and allegedly permits Israel to attack Iranian targets. Also, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is Jewish, and his grandfather and granduncles were in fact part of Soviet forces that fought against Nazi Germany in World War II. Things got more tricky for Israel when on Tuesday, a Russian airstrike destroyed a Holocaust massacre site in Kiev. It's no doubt that Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett is treading a diplomatic tightrope. This was crystallized when he told cabinet ministers on Sunday, "We are conducting a measured and responsible policy." Meanwhile, he is letting his foreign minister Yair Lapid play bad cop by issuing strong statements against Moscow. After the Holocaust massacre site in Kiev was attacked, it was Yair who condemned the attack and said Israel would try to rebuild the site. "We call for the sanctity of the site to be preserved and honored," said Yair. Even a week ago, when Bennett made his first remarks on the Russia-Ukraine war, he didn't mention Russia by name. In contrast, Yair called the invasion a grave violation of the international order. While Bennett might be choosing his words carefully, something slightly different appears to be happening with regards to Israel's stance at the UN. On Wednesday, Israel's Deputy Ambassador to the UN, Noah Furman, called Russia's invasion a serious violation of the international order, inching closer to the US-led Western position against Moscow. Furman also highlighted that Israel has sent 100 tons worth of humanitarian assistance to the conflict zone. But US lawmakers appear to be growing increasingly impatient with Israel's attempts to support Ukraine without alienating Russia. Former US Defense Secretary William Cohen said he was deeply disappointed with Israel's failure to join in line with the US, which has imposed a vast array of sanctions on Moscow. Meanwhile, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham also criticized Israel, saying he was very disappointed to hear Israel refusing to sell Stinger missiles to Ukraine, following a direct plea from Ukrainian President Zelensky to Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. It's also worth mentioning how Yad Vashem, Israel's Holocaust Museum, wrote to the US ambassador to ask Washington not to impose sanctions on Israeli-Russian oligarch Roman Abramovich. Abramovich is a major donor to Jewish institutions and a longtime supporter of Putin. According to a report in the Times of Israel, Abramovich, who immigrated to Israel in 2018, has donated over $500 million to Israeli and Jewish causes in recent years. Thank you so much for watching. This is Pia Krishnankutty for ThePrint. Do subscribe to ThePrint and follow us on social media.